Do you ever feel like it's pulling teeth to get your kids to do their school, wash their face, or finish their chores? Maybe it seems like all they do is play video games and avoid anything productive. You're not alone. Today, I'm sharing 5 powerful time management hacks to teach your kids. I've got a fun object lesson for you, and I'm sharing our bonus focus method at the end. These are habits you're going to want your kids to develop so that they can manage their time and be productive in life. Hey, if we haven't met, I'm Kim with Not Consumed Ministries. We help families grow in faith so that they can live not consumed by life's circumstances. You can support us and help your family grow in faith by subscribing to our channel. We really appreciate you. Thank you for doing that. Let's get to the time hacks. Number 1, know your priorities. In order to manage your time, the first thing you need to do is figure out what's important. Ecclesiastes 3:11 tells us that everything has a season and a time. Your priorities are going to depend based on the season of life that you're in. For example, kids, it's going to be God first, and then most likely school. But there are some important things like eating and sleeping that should also be a priority. A fun and helpful exercise to do with kids is to sit down with a pack of sticky notes. Have them write down all of the things that they do each day on a sticky note, each for a sticky note. Once that's done, help them sort out the things by importance. There may be a few things that are on the same level of importance. That's okay, they can go side by side. Then put the less important things below. This activity is going to help your kids visualize what really matters most. Number 2, priorities first. Once you know what your priorities are, we need to help kids understand that priorities must come first. I love to use an object lesson to teach this. To do it, you're going to need a vase or a vessel of some kind, large rocks or balls, and either sand or rice. Let me show you. This rice represents all of the things that we do each day that aren't a priority, like playing with Legos, hanging out with friends, playing video games, all the fun things that we want to do in life. These balls or rocks represent our priorities. These are things like quiet time, school, brushing your teeth, even sleeping and eating. Look at what happens when we put all of those other things first. There's no room for our priorities. That means you don't get to eat or sleep. I'm just kidding. There's a better way. Let's try this again. Let's start by putting our priorities into the day first. These are the most important things that we need to get done each day. Now, let's put the extras in. Friends, screen time, playing with toys. Are you surprised that all of the things that you want to do still fit when you put your priorities first? I've done this lesson with kids and families dozens of times, and it gets them every time. We can fit in the fun stuff when we make sure to put first things first. Now, you might be wondering what things should come first for you. Of course, that depends on what God has for you in this time of life. Psalm 119:105 tells us where to go for help, though. It says, God's word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. So spending time with God should always be a top priority because he's going to give us the guidance for everything else. I would encourage you to do this object lesson with your kids and help them develop a list of priorities that need to go into their day. So how do we practically get those priorities done? Number 3, use a checklist. Okay, hear me out. Have you ever written something down that you've already done just so you could check it off? Yes, of course you have. Why? Because it feels so good to check it off. Checklists are self-rewarding and they're my favorite hack for getting things done with kids. My kids have a homeschool planner to help them focus on their school priorities for the day. Then there's a section at the bottom for habits. More on those in a minute. Each day, they're required to complete the checklist and turn it in before they get to have free time or before they get the internet password. Yep, I used to lock down my internet every day until my kids learned how to manage their time. Now, the checklist, it's non-negotiable. It has to be done or it won't work. All kids can do this, by the way. Parents often tell me that their ADHD kids simply can't follow a list, but nothing could be farther from the truth. As a mom of a child who would have been diagnosed if he'd been in school and a former teacher who worked with lots of ADHD kids, I promise you they desperately need the list. It helps them organize their day and thoughts, which is how they thrive. Now, the checklist really is a hack with superpowers, but it only works if someone's holding you accountable. As a parent, this is our job. While kids are learning to get things done, it's important to check every single day. Once it becomes more consistent, we can transition into checking once a week. But honestly, that doesn't happen usually until around middle school. I have my kids put their stuff and their planner at the kitchen table when they finish school. This way I have to check it before we eat dinner. I know it's annoying, but I love the built-in accountability that I'll have to do it. Another trick that I use is a timer, which is habit number 4. I teach my kids to use a timer to help them remember things just like I do. Most phones these days have the ability to set recurring timers for the same time on a certain day. I label those timers and they help me remember to check their planner checklists. The kids use timers to help them remember to go to bed on time so that they can get up for things like co-op days. And they also use them for things like quiet time reminders and really anything that they're working to establish as a habit. Yes, habits. That's our 5th tip. We want our kids to develop habits because habits keep us rooted. Like the roots of a healthy tree, a good habit keeps you strong and growing, but a bad habit traps you and holds you back. At the core of great time management is a root system of consistent habits. We want to develop habits because a habit is something that you do without thinking about it. That means you don't have to be reminded. You'll naturally do the thing. Now, when my kids were little, I start working on habits before we do anything else. In fact, our primary planner is basically a giant habit checklist. We work on getting up, spending time with God, eating breakfast, and cleaning up. Then we brush our teeth, then we get dressed, then we tidy your room, then we do chores, and then we read for fun. Basically, my goal is for them to do all of these things each day naturally without any reminders by the time they're in the 1st grade. As soon as they wake up, they start on their list, instead of wandering around the house or getting into trouble. And this gives them a purpose and a plan for their day. When they're young, I'm working through the list with them, of course, but you'd be shocked about how fast they pick it up and move on to working through it independently. As they get older, we transition to a more fluid list where they can add the habits that they're working on, and we do that at the bottom of their school checklist. I've got a free mini course on helping kids develop habits. I'll link it in the description if this is something your family is working on. Now, once your kids are managing their time well, and it's not taking them all day to remind them to get things done, you'll find that there may be a lot of free time in the day. So my bonus tip for you is to help your kids structure that free time. I do allow my kids to have time with screens, but only after they've done their checklist and spent at least an hour in focused time. So focused is an acronym that we use to structure free time. They can pick any activity from the list. I find that usually kids get so involved with one of these activities that they forget about checking the clock. Goodbye, screen time. Okay, F is for first things first. This is just a reminder to get your priorities done. First things first. O, open a book. They can read anything they want during this time. Just make sure you have a good home library or that you stock up at the local library so your kids have something to read that they're interested in. C, create something. This could be Legos, art, a song, Play-Doh, or even a batch of chocolate chip cookies. U, use your talents. I love this one because it encourages kids to develop their God-given talents like singing, playing the piano, or even shooting hoops. S, serve. Serving others is our calling as Christians, and this starts at home. Kids can write a note to a friend or a sibling, or they can help someone clean up. E, exercise. This is exactly what it sounds like. Get outside, run off that energy, do some jumping jacks, shoot some hoops. The key for this one is to make sure that your kids have some options for this time, or they're not going to do it. D is for delight. Last but not least is delight. These are the things you love to do that don't necessarily fit in the other categories, but they're not screen time. There you have it, 5 simple hacks. Now, teaching your kids to manage their time isn't always easy, but these 5 hacks can make a huge difference. Start small, stay consistent, and don't forget to celebrate their progress along the way. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and share it with another parent who might need these tips. In our next video, we're going to be talking all about work habits. I'll see you there.